Our two competitors for our championship match tonight on Championship Bowling. The number 2 seed, of course, being knocked out. Dale Gustafson losing in a good match to Scott Wolgamuth, and Scott will end up rolling first, taking on our number 1 seed Larry Ailey out of Temple Hills, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. Scott comes off a very good game where he rolled a 182.
Whoops.
Gets a little help and leaves 2.
A little too much help, Mike. He stole his front pin out, so he has the 7-8, so he'll be very happy with 10 this frame. Larry chose to make Scott bowl first and finish last.
Well, Scott is the grizzled veteran at age 29.
He sure is.
Larry is all of age 23, first year on the tour, and we'll talk a little bit more about him when he gets up to roll his first frame.
Scott just came off of the game you mentioned, and he had 6 strikes in that game, which is a lot of strikes in the Duckpin game in one game.
Well, he's got 10 to start off the first frame, and here he is, Larry Ailey, age 23, as I mentioned, first year on the Duckpin Pro Bowlers Tour, and the first time that he's qualified to be in this situation where he can actually win and pick up a star and pick up that first prize money.
I'll tell you, to even qualify in the first year is something he should win or lose. He should be very pleased with himself.
And
really.
he did it in a big fashion, too, didn't he?
Well, we have some 300 strong as far as the membership, and I would be willing to go out on a limb and say that no more than 30 of them have ever shot 1,600. So he goes into the circle of the elite as far as that goes.
Well, he missed there, and he'll have the opportunity with the third ball to pick up 10 here in the first frame.
His first couple frames are so important to, let's say, a rookie to gain his confidence, get rid of the jitters. He's just watched Scott bowl 180 some game.
And so we're even after one frame. Both bowlers knocking down the 10 pins using the full complement of 3 balls.
He really bowled very steady to shoot the 1,600 too. He started with 502 for his first 3 with only a high game of 188. And when you're talking shooting 1,600, usually they're a couple 200 games, you know, because it's hard to maintain the pace and be as consistently high to shoot 1,600.
Larry went straight at that. He had the split, but he decided to pick up the 9th pin and with the third ball go right after the 10th, and that's what he's done. And so 2 frames, he's picked up the full 10 pins, 20 after 2 frames for Larry Ailey. And now Scott Wolgamuth will get up there. As we said, Scott is only 29 years old, but he's the old-timer in this particular match, already having picked up 2 tour victories.
Yeah, I tell you, Larry has his work cut out, because Scott's confidence is just, look out, has got to be, you know, at its peak. Having won here before, having bowled very well here at Longmeadow Bowl in Hagerstown prior to this tournament. He's averaging 157 for the 12 games he's bowled so far in the tournament. So I have to say Larry has his work cut out. He's going to have to make something happen.
And we have our first mark here in this championship match. A spare for Scott Wolgamuth in the second. Of course, the pressure on Larry is also going to be telling. First championship match on TV in the first year. So he's got a lot of things that probably going through his mind, and he's got to wipe out all those distractions and really just concentrate on the game at hand.
One ball at a time. He's sitting there. I'm sure he sees the 2 stars on Scott's back. An unpleasant reminder that Scott's been there before, you know, so you're not dealing. He got a little reaction. I think he called for that pin to kiss the other one.
Yeah, he said, give me a little kiss.
Many ways and not the pins didn't listen anyway.
Unfortunately, he didn't get it. That's right.
He may slide it over. He's a real good shooter. Ooh, he gave it a shot.
Went for broke. It's early. He's got an opportunity to recover from that. So
well, and he had an 8-pin lead, and the psychological effect on his opponent had he slid the shot would have been probably worth more than the pin. 37 through 3 for Scott to 20 through Larry. For Larry through 2 frames.
And Larry needs to get something going here with some kind of a mark.
Regardless of what he knocks down, he needs to execute and throw a good ball so to get his confidence. And again, he broke 9, but that ball mentally, I don't think really helped Larry, in all honesty. He did pull it. He dropped the ball, as we say. He got it on the line too soon. Okay, now that one may help his confidence.
I was going to say, it looked like he was a little bit more aggressive with that, a little more confident, and went right where he wanted it to go. And he picks up his first mark, a spare in the 3rd.
If he delivers this ball well, I think you can safely say that he's got himself. The jitters are behind him and he's ready. He's only been bowling 6 years total. Good ball. Well thrown ball. Been bowling 6 years. He bowls out of Suitland over in the D.C. area. High average of 146. High game 222. High 3-game series 539. As we say, this is the first year he's been a tour member, and he is a home improvement contractor. What a difference, Mike. And I know you picked it out immediately when he hit the 1-pinner last frame that he's become aggressive. Altogether different bowler than he was the first 2 frames.
I think after the first 2 frames, he said, okay, this is enough of this, and if I'm going to have a shot at this thing, I've got to turn it around.
Will the real Larry please step up, right?
Scott Wolgamuth now.
He's beaten Scott by 2 pins after 3.
Working in an open frame in the 3rd, and now he's got himself a very tough go here.
The effect of bowling the 2 frames, and you see what happens. He went from 8 behind, and now he's 2 ahead with a mark. If Scott doesn't mark, Larry can actually take like a 2-mark lead. So old Mo's changed direction.
And so Scott will have the 3rd ball.
In this game, the only way you're going to take the wind out of the other guy's sail is by performing. There's no defense, unfortunately, except for a good offense in the duckpin game.
Is fatigue a factor at all? I mean, for Scott Wolgamuth, he's bowled certainly a number of games yesterday in qualifying. Now he moves over, he bowls 2 in a row, and now he's bowling the 3rd. Is there maybe more mental?
The mental strain is what wears you down. You know, if he'd have kept going like he did the last game, there he threw a strike. But when you make the mistake or you get the split or the other bowler turns the game around, you can feel the drain. It just zaps you. There you see, he has a beautiful extension for our people at home to watch and to copy. You know, you can start the ball any way you'd like. Scott is a little unorthodox with the ball above his head.
Larry Ailey.
Oh, look out, look out. Oh!
Somebody yelled, get lucky, and
yes, sir.
He did. And
you know, Mike, that happened. You could see it forming.
Yeah.
You could just see it taking place. Watch the pins roll to get out of the way. Now that pin's going to move out of the way, and this one moves. Look. We couldn't have gone down there and made that happen if we had the pins in our hand.
Yeah.
Now that makes the other guy tired. I'm sure Scott just bowled 10 more games mentally. He just, why me?
And Larry Ailey can really do some damage here.
Well, Larry's aggressiveness, look out. He might have another roller. But his aggressiveness has caused this to happen. If he had the same thing in the 1st or 2nd frame, the pins would have stayed. Simply because he was not throwing the ball well. And like I said before, the pins do catch us when we make mistakes. Big pin, he can 2 pins, he can keep the pressure on, and there he goes.
Good. So Larry Ailey, after a slow start, has really come on hard, and we'll come to the conclusion of our championship match when we return in just a moment. Welcome back to Championship Bowling. I'm Mike Seller, with me Joe Rainier. And Joe, the men's tour has a compliment women's tour, and there's one of their winners.
Well, she come to pick up some tips that she probably doesn't need. Sue Bacon, the winner of the Ladies Pro Tour at Suitland just a month ago.
Well, we resume our championship match between Scott Wolgamuth and Larry Ailey, and Scott will be bowling.
Part of our duckpin family, Mike. Scott and Larry both bowl at Suitland. Look out.
Scott got a break there as he took out the 7. Still leaves the 10. He's working on a strike coming out of the 5th frame.
He was down on one knee waiting for the 7 pin to fall. Big pin here. big pin because Larry's really been keeping the pressure on Scott. Took that little extra second, if you noticed. Well done. 76 through 5. 66, I'm sorry, 76 plus. So we have a 13-pin lead by Larry Ailey.
Seemed to me, Joe, that Scott went through a little bit of a lapse of concentration in the third and the fourth frames where he had open frames. It seemed like he just wasn't on his game, just wasn't concentrating enough.
A little breakdown, yes, and Larry took advantage of it too, jumped on him very quickly. Look out, it just, that may have been the first ball that he actually, what we could call an errant ball out of the 3 or 26 frames that he's bowled. Very accurate bowler. The fundamentals are he has them nailed down very well. As you can see as we watched it, I can't say enough how his arm swing is so nice and pendulum. Tough pin. He had the 5-pin sleeping behind a head pin, as we call it, and it's a very tough pin to carry. 82 through 6. This pin would give him 92 through 7 frames. Oops.
And he missed
Boy,
there.
he's kind of come apart, that frame, a little bit. He 2 out of 3 balls that weren't in the direction he'd have liked them to be.
So he finishes the 7th with a 91.
I tell you,
Larry has an opportunity now to break things open here.
He can start the curtain down if he does something in the 7th and 8th frame, which he's about to bowl. Look at him fly. Okay.
We had that one duck flying.
Wow.
He's really getting the action on the pins and really throwing the ball well now.
Boy, the turnabout in his game after the first 2 frames have just been remarkable, Mike.
Yeah, it's two
To
different
being
bowlers.
a rookie,
Yeah.
to fight the situation, knowing that Scott's been there before, knowing that Scott just finished bowling 180.
17-pin advantage for Larry Ailey after 7, and of course he's working on a mark.
Plus the ball in his hand, and every ball is so pivotal at this point in the game. You know, if something were to happen wrong, it could throw the momentum back to Scott. But look out.
Oh!
There wasn't anything wrong with that.
And the momentum is definitely going all Larry Ailey's way, and Scott Wolgamuth has got his
Very
work cut
good
out
look,
for him
the
as we take a
extension.
look.
See the difference? And in the first 2 frames, his arm was stopping at his ankle, and now he's almost reaching the head pin. Yes, sir. He took the bull by the horns and turned Mr. Moe around. He's had 6 marks in a row. Pretty
And
ball.
here's Scott
Okay.
Wolgamuth not going to give up on this thing. He says, I can do the same thing.
Oh, yes, you're going to have to beat him. He's not going home early. And there you see again, down, through. We could freeze one of Scott's strikes, and they've all
Oh,
looked
look the
almost
same,
the
yeah.
same, yes.
Well, I think that's the key to not only duckpin bowling, but whatever kind of bowling you might have regionally is consistency, doing the same
Absolutely.
things over and over again, and even in the scoring. To be a champion, you've got to continually mark and take advantage of the situation in the game. And here's Scott Wolgamuth. Let's see if he takes advantage.
Another well-thrown ball.
And he's got 2 in a row. You see the end there, a little
Boy,
bit
did
of
he bounce
reaction.
back.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're going to show you this maybe one more time, maybe a few more times. Perfect. You seen the head pin took out the 5 and 8. He just drove the pins back.
And now Larry Ailey has got his opportunities for the 9th and 10th frames right here. Oh.
Looked like the same pin that flew across on 18 the last time when he broke 9. Big pin. It's a big pin. Scott has his double in the 8th and 9th. The 9th frame is so pivotal. Look at this. I'll tell you, what an exhibition we're seeing.
From 2 of the younger members of the DPBA Tour, Duckpin professionals. And Larry Ailey now moves to the 10th. After having 2 open frames to start the match, he has run off
7
in a row.
There's another good ball.
He's got a chance. No, just did stop short there. He was looking for a little help and didn't get it, and now he has an opportunity to pick up a spare by picking up the 5 here.
A big spare, too, because, like I say, Scott is on a doubleheader. Scott can shoot 181 with 3 more strikes. Larry can shoot 177 if he strikes as his count.
He's got it.
He can't close Scott out. It's not over. We won't make any rash statements, Mike. I'm going to sit here and watch what happens.
It's an exciting match.
Being an accountant, I'll bet you Scott has it pretty well counted up mentally and knows
what he's got to do to come out on top, and it all depends on what Larry Ailey does with this last ball. Let's see what happens.
We have some right interesting spectators. I can hear in my headset one of the bowlers in the back saying 4 was just enough. Scott needs a 4-bagger, which means he's saying that Scott needs 2 more strikes, which would give him 21. The man's absolutely right. This must be a strike, or Larry Ailey, our rookie, will become a Duckpin Pro Tour champion.
Scott stepped down to recompose himself. He knows it's a big moment in this match.
Watch the concentration. Good execution.
Oh, he missed me by 1, and
he did all that he could humanly possibly do. Very well done.
And he goes over and shakes Larry Ailey's hand, as even Scott knows that
in the middle of the frame he stopped and did it, and he knows that he must finish his game. He records every game as an accountant. He probably can tell you every game he's bowled in the number of years. But we'll be giving a star to someone who hasn't had one, which I think is great. Well, and to watch the excitement, Scott's 150 plus to Larry's 171. And 8 frames ago, I don't believe we'd have picked it this way, Mike.
Yeah, we had Larry start with 2 open frames. Scott started with a mark in the second after having an open frame himself in the first. And quite honestly, it looked like Scott, with his experience and perhaps being able to cope with the pressures of being in a championship match, might be able to hold off the rookie. But Larry Ailey has really put on a dramatic show.
Should be proud of himself. I tell you, we may have one that'll be tough for us to contend with, because when they win this early, they tend to keep on going. And Scott shoots a nice 157.
So Larry Ailey comes up with a 14-pin win here to be our champion on tonight's championship bowling. A good round of applause for him as he picks up his first tour victory. And we'll be back to wrap things up from Hagerstown, Maryland, and the Longmeadow Bowl right after this. Welcome back to the DPBA's bowling. We've had a big crowd today, and they've had certainly a lot of opportunity to see great bowling here on Championship Bowling. Joining us, Mr. Frank Turner, the owner of Longmeadow Bowl, and Larry Ailey, our champion for tonight. Frank, young man has got a promising future.
Yes, he won a lot of fans up here in Hagerstown, and talking to him, it's only his 2nd tournament. I've seen guys go for many years, and he hit the payday at the 2nd time. But, you know, you look like a great future for you, Larry, and I'll tell you, we watched you back there, and you hit it every single right on the nose. And are your legs still shaky, or you're still shaking a little bit? I mean, for a young man like this to win a nice tournament only the 2nd time, you must be proud, as we are proud of you here in Hagerstown. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
$2,000 first prize check to Larry Ailey. Larry, congratulations coming into the weekend. Did you think that you had an opportunity to come away with a tour win?
Not really. I mean, I just wanted to try it.
Let me just ask you a quick question. After the first 2 frames, you had 2 open frames. It seems like you took a different attitude, like you wanted to go out a little bit more aggressively. Did you consciously do that, or did you just feel a little bit more comfortable?
A little more comfortable, but I was still nervous most of the game.
Well, congratulations, Larry Ailey. First tour win on the DPBA Tour, and a big one, worth $2,000 in the very first star. Joe Rainier is my color commentator, and Joe, 2nd time out, just bodes nothing but great things for his future in the DPBA.
I tell you, I can't say enough. It was quite an exhibition, as you mentioned, to start with 2 open frames, and he actually looked a little shaky to us, and bang, he locked in, and like you said, he has a great future. Good luck, Larry.
Larry Ailey beating Scott Wolgamuth 171-157 in our championship match. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again, same time, same place, next week on Championship Bowling.